Okay, for today's lesson, you're going to need a sheet that says solving quadratic equations by factoring. So we've dealt with a lot of situations already with quadratics, and today we're going to go back to factoring and see how it really applies to solving roots or finding zeros with quadratic equations. So number one, it says solve it by factoring. Well, the problem is I don't have everything in standard form, meaning I don't have my A, B, and my C values all on the left side. So that's the first thing I need to do. I need to move this back over. So I have 5m squared plus 60m plus 175. Now, if you look at this sheet here, or look at the problem that we got left right now, you need to factor that out. Well, we also have equals 0 because there's nothing on the right side. But the problem is I need to pull out a GCF first, because 5, 60, 175, they all have a GCF, and that GCF is going to be 5. So I'm going to pull out a 5, and then I'm going to rewrite what should be left. So m squared plus 12m, and then 175 divided by 5, 35. And I put equals 0. Okay, so now if I want to keep factoring, I know that I'm going to have two parentheses, put equals 0. M squared, there's only one way to do that, so m times m. Okay, two numbers that multiply to 35 but add to a positive 12, well, that's going to be 7 as well as 5. Okay, anywhere that there is an m or a variable, that's going to be something that you guys need to solve for. So what I want to do is I want to take each parentheses here, and I'm going to pull it apart as like a separate problem. And what we're going to apply is what's called the zero product property. And what that means is we're going to plug in whatever it takes, or we're going to multiply by whatever it takes to make that piece equal 0. So I'm going to take this first one, m plus 7, and I'm going to set it all equal to 0. Well, what do I need to do with that? Subtract 7, and you get m is equal to negative 7. So the other parentheses, m plus 5 equals 0. What do I need to plug in to make that true? Well, minus 5, so that's going to be m is equal to negative 5. So my two solutions are negative 7 and negative 5, meaning if I graph that, it would cross at negative 7, it would cross at negative 5. These are the same answers you could get by doing quadratic formula, but obviously this might be a little bit easier because you might find less work involved with that. Again, these answers come from, if you take the resulting parentheses you have left, and you basically think, what do I need to plug into this parentheses to make that parentheses equal to 0? Well, in this case, it was negative 7. And then I look at this parentheses. What do I need to plug in there? Well, that's going to be a negative 5. Okay, number 2. So number 2, if I want to solve by factoring, first thing I would do is I would subtract that 192 and move that over here. So you have 3p squared minus 192 equals 0. Notice we do not have our b value. So now I'm going to go pull out a GCF. So 3 I'm going to pull out. And you got p squared. 192 divided by 3 gives you 64. So p squared minus 64 equals 0. So if I keep factoring, because I have no middle term, I know that when I set up my values here, they're going to be opposites. And what multiplies to 64? We got 8 and negative 8. Okay, so now I can just take this parentheses right now, and I just think, what do I need to plug in right here to make this parentheses equal to 0? Because if this parentheses is equal to 0, then 3 times this times whatever that is still going to be 0. So that's going to be a negative 8. And then I got to look at this parentheses. What do I got to plug in here to make this parentheses equal to 0? That's going to be a positive 8. So my answer for number 2 is going to be plus or minus 8. Okay, number 3. So I want to move this over to the other side. So I'm going to add the opposite. So we have 8a squared plus 32a minus 96 equals 0. Check it out, GCF. GCF is going to be an 8. So I'm going to pull out an 8. So a squared plus 4a, and that's going to be minus 12 equals 0. Okay, keep factoring. So the 8, I know this is going to break up into a times a. So two numbers that multiply to a negative 12 but add to a positive 4. So that's going to be a plus 6 and a minus 2. Okay, again, to solve it, it's really pretty easy. Just think, what do I need to plug in right here to make this parentheses equal to 0? And that's going to be a negative 6. Same thing, go look at this parentheses. What do I need to plug in here to make that equal to 0? And that's going to be a positive 2. So negative 6 and positive 2 are my solutions. Again, that means if I graph this, this parabola, it would touch here at like negative 6, and it would touch here at positive 2 if I was to graph it. It would look something like that. Okay, number 4. So let's move this over to the left side. So that cancels. So you have 7m squared minus 175 equals 0. Okay, so now we're going to pull out a GCF, I believe. So let's check it out, 175 divided by 7. We get an answer of 25. So I'm going to pull out 7, and I have m squared minus 25 equals 0. So we factor this out, and 2 parentheses. So you're going to have m and m equaling 0. You have no middle term, so again, you're going to have opposite values, plus and minus. And the square root of 25 is going to be 5. So I think, what do I plug into this parentheses right here to make that equal to 0? It's a negative 5. Same thing over here, and that's got to be a positive 5. So my final answer is plus or minus 5. All right, you guys go into number 5. 6. Number 7. Number 8. Number 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. And 14.